Hi, my name's CJ. I'm a musician and a writer, but what I mostly am is the sufferer of a chronic condition. I developed symptoms of fibromyalgia when I was 14 years old and got diagnosed at age 18. I also developed symptoms of bipolar 2 at around 18-19 and got diagnosed at 29. I'm now 37 years old. The reason I decided to make this film is because I realized that I've got something which a lot of people with chronic conditions don't have, which is a definition of what my illness is and a corresponding way of applying myself to my illness. A lot of what I know about my own condition comes from traditional Chinese medicine, but I'm not going to be speaking in those terms today, but just trying to translate what I know into a shareable and understandable language. Excuse me. Not trying to tell anyone what to do or what's right for them, but just trying to provide some information and insight into these very challenging and often debilitating conditions so that you have more power over your situation, or at least more understanding within your circumstances. So the body is an adaptive system. Basically, an easy way to think about this is that there's just always an exchange going on between any animal and its environment. You know, if it gets colder, then our bodies work to keep us warmer. If it gets warmer, our bodies work to cool us down, that kind of thing. But also, whatever diet we eat, we also adapt to that. So that's something that's happening in our inner environment, and it's also an adaptive process. With regards to this adaptive quality that exists in all animals and nervous systems, humans are particularly adept at doing this. For example, we've got vast spectrums of people living in different environments all around the world. The two greatest extremes being, on one hand, the Eskimo living in an icy environment constantly, and then on the other hand, the desert dweller who lives on like just a tiny handful of water a day. Within our body systems, let's just consider that we've got different layers of tissues in our bodies, and these different layers of us have different corresponding functions. And I'm going to talk about 5 today, and what we're dealing with, I'm going to go from the outside in, because where we're going to begin, which is our skin, which relates to our immune system, is obviously the mediation between our inner environment and the outside. So it's something very fundamental and important to keeping that balance between what's on the outside in our environment and what's on the inside in our internal ecology and body system. So the first layer we've got on the outside is the space between the skin and the muscles, and this relates to our immune system. So this is the part of us that's always moving and always acting to keep whatever shouldn't be coming into us out, or whatever's in the environment, be it cold, wind, heat, viruses, flus, toxins in the air, etc. That's always working to keep it out and push it out. So that's level 5. Coming down from that a level, we've got our digestive system, in terms of the part of us that takes in food and turns it into nourishment. And it's also something that's always moving. Even if we've been fasting a long time, we're completely empty of food in there. There's still going to be processes going on. Things are going to be, the metabolism would have adapted so that we can stay alive, and probably we're going to be letting lots of stuff go. But this is the next layer down, and once again, like number 5, it's a part of us that's always in flux, it's always moving. We come down a layer from that into our musculature. This is a different layer of us. This is a layer of our tissues that stores things. Basically, it takes energy from the food and it turns it into us. And in so doing, it stores the carbohydrates, fats, minerals and protein and everything, and makes it into our flesh. So here we've gone over a line. We've gone from the outer 2 layers being layers that are always in flux and always moving, down to a layer where things are getting stored and put into our body. So another layer down from that again, we go into our joints and our sinews, our connective tissue layer. I can't remember some of the words for those at the moment, but basically this part of us is storing on a deeper level, and it's more fundamental again than the musculature, which sits on top of the joints and is controlled by it. The digestive system, which sits on top of the musculature, is a more superficial layer, and then the immune system again. So coming down from layer 5, the immune system, number 4, the digestive system, number 3, the musculature, number 2, the connective tissue and joints, we come right down to level number 1, where we've got our bones. But not only do we have our bones here, we've got all our internal organs. So at this level, we're at a very deep level of our tissue structure in our body, and obviously the joints and then the muscles above that and everything are sitting on top of this deep layer of us that houses all of our most kind of core and internal energies. So that's the different layers of tissue and what they do. How is this relevant to a chronic illness? So when we're looking at day-to-day immunity and stuff within us, obviously level 5, the most superficial and outer layer of our body, is the part of us that's always keeping whatever shouldn't be there out. But obviously this doesn't always work. At some point we get a cold or a flu or even something more serious, and we have a time where we're sick, and eventually we get over it and expel it and go on with our lives. So what happens there with regards to this layer of tissues? The pathogen, whatever it is, gets out from layer 5 down into the digestive system layer and sits there for a while, and then gets pushed back out again through through those layers. So that's a general principle of human immunity, is that nothing ever gets down to where the layers in the tissues where things get stored, you know. If it does, then you're usually in hospital with something really serious going on. Like you might lose a limb, your life might be in danger, you might be getting a sickness that's going to really ruin your health for a long time, if not forever. These kind of things. So that's the general kind of gist. Now, what happens when we get a chronic condition? And even though this is a video for ME, chronic fatigue, and fibromyalgia, I'm going to use the word chronic condition because I want to emphasize that this is a generally definable condition or state of things happening in the body that can be applied to all three of these labels, if not more. The reason I didn't try and make this for more than that is because I don't know enough about the symptomology of Lyme's disease and Hashimoto's and all of those kind of things. So, but hopefully this general definition I'm going to make can help these other people as well. So when we've got a chronic condition, what's happened is that a pathogenic, well, I'll say a pathogen for now, a pathogen has got all the way out from level 5, gone down through the digestion, down through the muscle layer, down through the joints and connective tissue layer, right down to the bottom, the core, where all of our organs, major organs are, and our bones and our deep layer of tissue, and it's made a home there. So, and the reason I said pathogenic factor just before, like, because in some cases it is a virus that's stepped down through those things, or a disease or something, and got down to the bottom and made its home there. But other times it's just a pathogenic factor, like a lot of people get these conditions from stress and overwork and the demands of this mad society that we live in. And that can be sometimes that just heat or cold, which aren't diseases in a Western medical sense, but are pathogenic factors, have got right down to the core level. So that's my definition of what a chronic illness is. Something I didn't so much go into before is that the bottom core layer of energy is what the Chinese traditional system calls the house of our life force. So this is basically the deepest part of us, and it's the part that's responsible for growing, aging, reproduction, things like this. It's the deepest level of us, and the body always protects it. The body always keeps things that shouldn't be there out of it, because otherwise our health goes into disarray.